Welcome to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I'm delighted to be with you this morning. This is a chilly morning outside, and be happy that you're inside, cozy and warm, at our 9:30 service. And delighted to have you with us. Let's start today's service by sharing our statement of oneness, and that will lead us into our opening prayer. So we say together, there is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God, the good omnipotence. And take a deep breath and prepare yourself for prayer. The mind of God is eternally good, giving, and fully available to me. And I know that the God substance within is ever glowing brighter. And I acknowledge that the Christ consciousness is with me right now, and especially glowing during this holiday time. I am fully aware that I live in and as this blessed creation today and throughout eternity. During this holiday season, I make a particular intention to be aware of the joy and fulfillment of this holiday time, the glowing Christ consciousness within, and I focus on this important holiday time, knowing that it is a time of experiencing love and renewal, and a true opportunity to live up to the principles that I believe in, that warm my heart and make my life amazing. The divine idea of life symbolized by this holiday, the new birth and a renewal, is also a reminder that I too have been anointed and appointed for a higher purpose. And I remind myself right now in joyful tones of this blessed awareness. I give myself permission to be in a state of love and high expectations as the new year is soon to arrive. I move deeply into the understanding of what I am and what I am not, and I become aware of the many gifts in this holiday season that come from Source and that are truly taking hold in my life and expressing through me. These high ideas continue to move through me at this important time of the year and have lasting impact on my life, my thoughts, my spiritual essence as I move into 2021. This holiday experience also promotes and speeds the healing of anything within me that needs to be resolved and dissolved. This energy flows in abundance through me as I continue in my spirit of joy in this holiday season and carry it with me into 2021. I celebrate my growing life, my growing spirituality, my growing prosperity, and my ever-expanding renewal as I remember to practice my spiritual principles and visualize my intentions as they come into reality. For in that visualization, I know that extra energy makes a big difference in my ability to manifest. And I am truly appreciative for the knowing that my spirituality has brought to me so that I can live a better life as a human being and become an even greater human essence, as I am always a spiritual essence. I practice joyful giving and receiving in this important holiday time because the right and perfect gifts are here, flowing into me and becoming the essence of my prosperity as I become ever more generous with the gifts of my heart and my soul. And I celebrate the expansion of the Christ consciousness within me that is nurtured by hope and glory. So grateful for the season that brings anew the Christ life in my experience and into the world and into 2021. My heart is filled with joy, an ever-expanding joy, and join with me in saying, and so it is. Amen. Thank you again for being with us on this beautiful, beautiful morning. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and are in the holiday mode for the coming new year. For those of you that are joining us on Zoom, you know that we do open our link early and we keep it open a little after service to give you a chance to share your news and join with others in our congregation to just share and enjoy the community that we treasure. For those of you that are joining us on YouTube, please do subscribe and hit like. It helps other people find us as well. If anyone you know or you yourself would like some prayer, our prayer line is open. You go to our website, click on prayer request, and we respond immediately to your prayer request and keep you in our prayer for a period of time afterwards so that you know you have the extra prayer energy behind your requests and the awareness in your heart that your community here at the Unity of Charlotte is yours to experience and is behind you all the way. You can also call Unity's telephone prayer line, Silent Unity, anytime, day or night by calling 800-NOW-PRAY. Our announcements are short this morning as our programs are in hiatus until after the first of the year. But please do remember, our service is at 9:30 in the morning. We have a town hall meeting on January 20th, and that is in preparation for our annual meeting on January 31st. So we have those two spectacular events coming up in the future. It is my joy to announce that we've got Reverend Sally Robbins again with us. She gave an extraordinary and inspirational talk last week, and I'm glad that we have her, the gift of her again this week. And she herself is having amazing holidays, as we are all aware of her fabulous manifestations of love and greater life in her own. And we welcome you, Reverend Sally, to lead our service today. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Pat. Oh, what a delight to be here with each and every one of you. Thank you for showing up this morning. I know this earlier time is quite a switch, but isn't it nice that we have this earlier time and then we have the whole day afterwards? It's wonderful. So I'm just grateful for our new time. We still get to use our new space with as tenants in our building. And so isn't life wonderful? And it unfolds in beautiful, beautiful ways. So this morning, my talk, let me pull up my screen here so I can share that with you. This morning, my talk is going to be about blessing the old and starting the new. Can you relate to that? Because if I've heard it one time, I've heard it a million times, that, man, am I glad 2020 is about over. There's a lot of people, myself included, who have said those very words. And I got a little chuckle out of seeing how some people were putting that even into their Christmas ornaments this year. Let me show you what I mean by that. These are some of the most popular Christmas ornaments that appeared on Christmas trees this year. Well, first of all, we have the 2020 with the toilet paper. Of course, that's a big deal. And all the little Santa's wearing masks, and then we had the hand sanitizer there. So that was reflected in quite a few of the Christmas ornaments this year. And I love the 2020 stink, stank, stunk. We're using the verbiage from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. as if anyone could steal Christmas. But that feeling and that sentiment were definitely prevalent this year. Stink, stank, stunk. And then the very popular Dr. Fauci ornament, where he has a sign saying, "We are all in this together," one of his famous sayings. And then, of course, Santa himself with a bag full of hand sanitizer and Clorox bleach and cleaning products, masks, and toilet paper. So it was a very, very different one this year. And my personal favorite, the dumpster labeled 2020 on fire. That has been used quite a bit in memes on social media, and now, of course, emblazoned on ornaments that we will cherish forever. We'll never forget this year, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I'd like to also wish you a happy Romule. Happy Romule. Do you know that we are actually celebrating Romule right now? Well, maybe we aren't, but the Norwegians are. The Norwegians celebrate Romule every year. And they actually invented Romule. And what that means, Romule, the Norwegian word, Rom means room or space. And Romule is the space between Yule, which is Christmas, and Nitar, I think I'm saying that right, which is the New Year. So that space between Christmas and New Year's is called Romule. And there's no real word in the English language to replace Romule, but what it basically means is this: that week between Christmas and New Year's, in which we get to spend time spaciously reflecting and thinking about our previous year, and before we move into the new year. And it's typically spent with family and friends and doing as close to nothing as possible. Isn't that a delightful way to look at this week? Happy Romule. We are in that space right now. The Norwegians, you know, they don't get light this time of year, but they're inventing wonderful holidays, that's for sure. So I want to celebrate Romule with you because I want to look back. I want to look back on 2020. Instead of cursing this year, it certainly was challenging and difficult in many ways, and forced us into things that we probably weren't quite comfortable with. But 2020 is, as we leave 2020, what I would like to do is take a look back and bless that time, because a lot of good came out of it. I think you'll agree once we move through what I want to share with you this morning, that if we look back with a sense of blessing rather than cursing, it is far easier to move into a new year of manifesting things that we truly want to have in our lives. So let's take a look at 2020. I did a little research and found that 2020 actually had surprising, wonderful things happen during this year. And to begin with, diagnoses of HIV are down 23% globally. That's a fantastic number. So since 2010, that figure has basically tripled. So it was, around 6% or 7%, 8% in 2010, and now it's down 23% globally. And not only that, more people, way more people, have access to antiviral medication that is helping them. And there is on the horizon a medicine that is, if they take a couple times a year, can actually eradicate AIDS. So this is huge in the world of medicine. And that those people that are suffering with this actually have a shot at having a wonderful, normal life. I remember when AIDS used to be a death sentence. Nowadays, people can live with it. And the technology and just the sense that I'm going to get through this. Well, this year, they've been major breakthroughs. Another wonderful report comes out of Kenya. And the elephant population in Kenya has more than doubled. From 1980, in 1989, it was only 16,000 elephants. It's 34,000 today. Little baby elephants are all over the place. And I love this, the number of elephants being killed by poachers is way down, way down. So in addition to that, the number of lions living in Kenya has increased by about 25% too. So it's a fabulous thing where life is rebirthing in many, many ways. When we think life is shutting down, and it certainly has shut down in certain places, in others it is absolutely blooming and blossoming with new life. And meanwhile, Uganda reported a gorilla baby boom. Mountain gorillas in the country had been breeding in unprecedented numbers. So these animals were seriously in trouble, especially the mountain gorillas were near the extinction list. And now life is coming back to the African continent and other places in the world. So we have the capability to see that there is life in wonderful new places. Another thing is death by terrorism fell for the 5th consecutive year. That's fantastic that people are living more in more peaceful ways. Now that's not saying that there still isn't terrorism out there. There's still global conflict. But to see that the overall numbers are decreasing, are going down, that's because people like you and I are standing firm in the spiritual truth of who we are, that we are peace. It begins with us. It begins right here within us. And then that spreads in so many wonderful ways. So death by terrorism fell, which is another wonderful, wonderful thing. And last but not least, the coronavirus vaccine became the fastest vaccine to ever be developed. Now, part of that is because they've developed the SARS vaccine and other vaccines before this. They've got a lot of experience now with developing vaccines. But as one scientist put it, in the last 11 months, probably 10 years worth of work has been done. That's a staggering statistic, that when there was a need for something, that the world collaborated. Scientists were coming together to collaborate to find a vaccine that we could use. And now we've got a couple that are issued for use. And we know that the technology is increasing at a rapid rate to meet the demand of what is out there. So these are fantastic things that are happening that have happened in 2020 and the previous years that we can see there is forward movement. And I want to bring those to the front because too many times we're seeing only the negative, right? The news is famous for breaking news. This is happening. Hospitals are full and all the other things that we see. I want us to take a step back and see that there is a lot of good that is happening in this world. A lot. So as we take a look at these things, I know that you and I have the capability of seeing beyond that which is like right in front of our eyes. Sometimes that alone looks really scary and dark. And yet, if we look a little bit further with our spiritual eyes, and I talked a lot about that last week, if we look metaphysical, beyond the physical, if we look, we can see that there is a lot of good. And I know that I want to be the impetus, the starting point for that to happen, because it does all begin with me. It begins with you. So how we look at our year, how we frame our year of 2020 is really, really important. So let's take a look at the blessings of the past year. I know that I've really been doing a lot of thinking about this. Where did I get to show up in a new and wonderful way? That's a fabulous question for us to take a look at. Where did I show up last year in a new and wonderful way. I know there were lots of things that I grew through despite of. Sometimes there were claw marks as I was growing and being pushed into a whole new phase of being. And yet, I recognize that there was so much good that was also happening. If I just stop and take a breath and know that this too is for my good. The first thing that really helped me, and you might relate to this too, the first thing was that I have been forced to face my own mortality. And isn't that a good thing? That's something that I think most of us tend to get into this frame of mind like, well, I've got all the time in the world. No, not really. Not really. None of us gets out of this alive. We really know that at the core of our being. And yet, sometimes we act as if we do have all the time in the world. There's a wonderful way of looking at this. And 2020 has served as a memento mori for me. Memento mori, MEMENTO, second word, MORI, memento mori. Now that's a Latin phrase. And the Latin phrase translates to this: remember that you will die. Remember that you will die. Now, some artists would take this memento mori concept and they would put it into their artwork. And sometimes they would use hourglasses or clocks, and they would put that in the picture. And that was simply a symbol reminding us that time is short and that someday all of us won't be here any longer. And it's sobering, isn't it, to think that someday we will all die. And yet there is a freeing nature to that as well, because what it really got down to the core of my being was this: what doesn't need to be in my world anymore? Can you relate to that? What doesn't need to be in my spacious world, my consciousness even? And am I doing the spiritual work that supports where I want to truly be? This was huge for me this year. And so I got clarity around the things that are important. I got focus around the things that I wanted to create. And I started letting go. I've had a ton of people, excuse me, tell me that they've had the same sort of revelation. They just don't care about some of the things that used to be meaningful to them. And they're saying, wait, no, I want something that is really going to support me and lift me up, enlighten me. Enlighten, their word light is in there. And anything that doesn't enlighten you, let it go. Let it go. Use the memento mori concept that we are all here to do something powerful and important before we move on to our next, whatever it is. We are all here to do something, not just a few, not just if you've got a certain title in front of your name or a certain position of power. No, we all have something critical and important to do. And when you look at life like that, holy mackerel, you have the power within you to create something incredible. Maybe that something incredible is raising a child. Maybe it's planting a garden, maybe it's creating a beautiful home. Maybe it's part of the work that you do in the world. There's so much here. And we think, I've got all the time in the world to take care of that. Maybe not. So 2020 was a powerful reminder, for me at least, a powerful reminder to get moving and to get doing what I should be doing. And I think that has made all the difference in the world for me, to just transform the things that I thought, oh yeah, I can get to that someday. Take it off the shelf now and do it. Do it. Memento mori. Live by that. The second thing that I wanted to share with you is that we have the capability to move beyond, And what I mean by that is this, that, let me move to the next screen, First Thessalonians tells us, in all things give thanks. So to move beyond the appearances that there is, contraction around us, that our life is not near as big as it used to be. And that's true in the physical sense for many of us. I really long to be out more and be with, if you had told me a year ago that I would go for months without seeing friends, man, that I couldn't have imagined that. And yet that's what I've had to do, and you've had to do. And so there's times when I've wanted to curse that, because it's really impacted, especially an extrovert like me, it's really impacted even my mental health, that I feel a little enclosed sometimes, just being in my own space and getting out very little compared to what used to be my life. And so I get to practice in all things, give thanks. In all things. It doesn't say in some things. It doesn't say in the things that you're comfortable with. It doesn't say the things that you like. It says in all things, give thanks. And there's a phrase that we use here in New Thought a lot. God is good all the time. Do we really believe that? God is good all the time. And there have been times this year when I've really faltered in that. And this has been a wonderful chance for me to practice it, to really practice, to be grateful for Zoom and other technology like this. I miss hugs so much. I know a lot of you do too. I miss hugs. And yet I know that for the safety of all, I'm willing to do this. And I still get to be on Zoom with all of my wonderful friends. I get to share. I get to talk. It's not the same thing. I'll grant you that. But in all things, can I practice, just giving thanks for what is, blessing and loving what is, and not cursing and moaning about it and going, I can't believe, can't go out again. Christmas is different this year. Yes. And look how many more of us stayed connected in ways that we never thought we could do. God bless the technology that keeps us together. I keep hearing about families that are Zooming now. I just saw an ad for some app that you can get that you can literally share, or you can watch something on TV. I think it was Sling. And on the side is like the little, like on ours, it's like the little boxes. And so a family can watch together from different places. They can watch the same program. I thought, that's smart, that, and the technology is keeping up with trying to help us stay connected. So I'm grateful for these things. And I'm grateful for the practice that I get to have. There's a wonderful phrase by Alphonse Karr. He was a 19th century French writer, and he said this: some people are always grumbling because roses have thorns. I am thankful that thorns have roses. Isn't that wonderful? I'm thankful that thorns have roses, and that in the midst of all of the thorns that we've experienced this year, there's roses there too. Now, there might have been more thorns, just like there is on a rose stem. There's lots of thorns, but there's still a rose. Can I still be thankful for what is, that there is to be grateful for? Can I still understand that there is something here that is allowing me to grow my gratitude muscle? Do you know that's a muscle that you've got to work with every single day, and that you've got to really practice? Because it's so easy to go away and just start getting really blasé about, well, that's just the way life is. Be grateful. Be grateful for what we have. The thorns are definitely still there, but the roses, that beautiful scent, that beautiful life that you still get to live is still there. Celebrate that. Celebrate that. And so I know that as I'm sharing these things, you might be resonating, going, that's great, but man, this has been a tough year. I do not want to discount the pain. I do not want to discount the loss. I do not want to discount the moving of heaven and earth that has had to happen for a lot of people who have lost income, lost wages, lost jobs, even loss of life with loved ones. There is nothing that can replace the sense of grief that comes with that. I honor that space. And yet there's something, a third thing this year that I've really taken notice of. And all of those losses have helped me understand this, that I have great resilience within me, great resilience. And I know you do too, that resilience that is usually lying dormant when life is pretty good, that had to come up. It had to come up and be pulled from us. It had to really be pulled out of us, that to show that we do have the resilience to meet whatever comes our way. One of my favorite stories about this is a story about a farmer who found that his old donkey had fallen into his well. And he looked down, he could hear the donkey just braying pitifully, just the donkey wanted to get out of that well so badly. And the farmer looked down and he's like, man, there's gonna be a lot of work, to try and get that donkey out of there. And the donkey's pretty old, so I think I'll just bury him down there and it'll be fine. Now, in my mind, I could never do this, but just stay with me for this story for a second. So he called his friends and he said, let's just put, dirt down there and we'll just, hopefully he won't be, in pain, and we just have to, move on. So they started pitching dirt down there. And at first the donkey realized, oh my God, it's dirt coming down. This is not good. He starts crying even more. He's braying, loud. And then all of a sudden he went quiet. And they looked down, and as someone would shovel some dirt down there, the donkey would simply step up on the dirt and shake off the rest. And then if someone else put some more dirt, he'd step up and he'd shake off the dirt. And pretty soon they'd filled the well, and the donkey was able to step out and trot happily away. And I think about that, step up and shake it off. I think about that a lot during times like this that we've had in 2020. That sometimes it's dark and it's scary and you're thinking, I don't think I can get out of this. And yet, if we simply step up, shake it off, then eventually we too move out of the space of real darkness. And so when I look at, each of the troubles that I've had, each of the difficulties and challenges that have come my way in 2020 have simply been stepping stones. I know if I look back to March, when the state shut down here in North Carolina, and I look back, I'm a very different person than I was then. Very different. I recognize that. I can see how I've grown over the years. I can see how each month there was something, and there were times when I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Everything changed for me, my job, everything. And yet, every time I just would think of it, step up and shake it off, step up and shake it off. And as I did so, that resilience within me kept growing. It kept blooming into something that I didn't even know I had. So the resilience that was able to, that I could access, it's always been there, but I couldn't really access it until a difficulty drew it out of me, even stronger and greater. So I know that something within you has changed too since March. I know that you've had the capability to draw on resources you didn't know you had either. And you are pulling something out of you that you didn't even know you had. I know that many, many people have shared that with me, that the resilience that we don't see resilience in the good times. It takes difficulty for that to pull all of that out from within. It's dormant until then. What resilience has grown in you? Where have you shown up in a way that you didn't know you had it within you to show up like that? let me tell you also about a woman who's, let me share my screen again. And this woman really had to figure out this year how she was going to step up and shake it off. I'd like you to meet Lucia Riojas Martinez. She lives in Mexico. And this story was in the New York Times, and it was talking about the global ways in which we've all risen and shown the resilience within us. Lucia is gay, and Mexico is a pretty conservative country, and gay people are not accepted like in other countries. And so she's been an activist for years to help get the acceptance, that the LGBT community has in many other countries. She's trying to change the culture in Mexico to be more accepting and loving towards all people, to be inclusive, not just exclusive. Well, 2020 was a difficult year for everyone, but especially people like Lucia who were in the LGBT community, because you see, when things shut down, that meant that people had to stay home, like we all did. And many times those who were in the LGBT community were shut in their homes with family members who sometimes were homophobic, who sometimes were not as accepting and loving as they could have been. This caused great turmoil for some people. And what Lucia found out was that she, even though over the years she faced online abuse and even death threats because she was gay, she found that some people found their home life with their own family was untenable, and they had to leave because it just wasn't working for them to stay at home in a homophobic atmosphere. This was causing a real crisis within the LGBT community in Mexico. So Lucia decided, I've got to do something about this. Because when she was finding herself in the same situation in her home, so she's a congresswoman in the country of Mexico. So like here, she's a congresswoman. She's one of the only openly gay Congress people, I guess. She's a congresswoman, but even in congressmen, there are very few openly gay people in positions of power in the government of Mexico. So she converted her political headquarters in Mexico City to basically a retreat, a homeless shelter for young LGBTQ people who were finding that they could not stay in their own homes. They had no place to go. So she converted her political headquarters into this wonderful retreat. And she called it Ahora, A-H-O-R-A, which in Spanish means now. And so with support from activists and others in the community, they took in their first residents on May 13th. And since then, the shelter is now known as Casa Frida, and it's had more than 60 people pass through its doors. Now think about that. Those are 60 people who didn't have a place to go before, who didn't know that they could be accepted and loved in this kind of community. And now they're flourishing. They're getting to know that there is a safe haven for them. And so she soon realized that just providing shelter wasn't enough, that there had to be some mental health help as well for those who were on this journey. And so she started putting together mental health cooperatives that the people that were coming through the shelter could take advantage of. And now they offer residents psychological counseling and helping them gain access to healthcare, because that's a real issue as well, and access to housing and stable work. So they are literally taking people who are on the streets, who are homeless, and saying, we can help. Now talk about resilience. She didn't know that she was going to do that in January when the new year turned last year. She had no clue that this was going to be happening. And yet something within her said, I can't stand idly by, and I'm going to find a way to do this. That took courage, and it took great resilience. So she's found now that on average, the people that come through the shelter there stay about a month and a half to 3 months long, and before they get back on their feet. And she says, more than a shelter, we wanted to build a house of community. Every day we know that the road gets harder, but we can't take a step backward. It's forward together, she says. Forward together. And so the resilience that she found in the midst of, a pandemic, step up, shake it off. She found a way to make life work, not only for herself, but for her community. And so I look at these stories and I think, wow, 2020, what a fantastic year. What a chance for all of us to rise above what we thought was something that could easily pull us down and tear us apart. And yet we're still connected. We're still rising up. We're still doing our spiritual practices. We're still coming together as community. We're still hanging in there together. Oh my goodness. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. The world is watching, and we're showing up in a way that, we didn't know that we could before. We didn't know that we could do this before. And so what is showing up with you? Can you bless 2020 for all the wonderful things that it gave you? I encourage you this week, Romule, the week between Christmas and New Year's, think about, oh my gosh, there's been tons of good that's come out of 2020. And bless it, even the difficulties and the strife and the struggle and all the things that you went through, because you are on the other side of that. You, even if you're not, you're still coming through it. You're finding things in you that you never knew you had. I'm a different person today than I was a year ago, and you are too. Even if you don't see it, think of what you have faced and gone through. Think of how you have risen and how you've stepped up and shook it off and kept going. Not everyone can say that. I know you can. And so this year, 2020, we bless it as we leave it, knowing that as we do so, we're preparing a fantastic foundation. We're taking the nuggets of wisdom that we've gained over the year, the strength and character that we've built. We're taking that with us into the new year. 2021 will be phenomenal, not only because many things are behind us, but because we're different coming into this year. We are stronger. We are more resilient. We are more powerful. We are more steeped in spirituality than we ever have been before. I invite you, look this week and see how you have been blessed in 2020. And I'm not talking material at all. I'm talking about the way that you have risen to new heights, perhaps even heights that you didn't know you could reach. Bless 2020 for all the value that it has brought to your life. Bless the opportunities. Bless the building of your muscle, your spiritual muscle, your resilience muscle, your gratitude muscle. Bless it all. And know that 2021, man, you've got this. You've got this because you got through 2020. You have got this now. And start making big plans, because God dreams big. Dream big along with that God within you. And dream of manifesting a life you've never known before. You've got this. So next week, I'm going to continue on with this. We're going to be talking very specifically about what is your purpose, what is your passion that you need to be following up in next year in 2021. I hope you'll join me, because if we bless this year and move very purposely and intently into the next year, watch out, world. We're coming, and we've got this. The co-creative power in you is ready to bloom like you've never seen before. Know with me that you have risen to new heights, and there's even more out there for you if you just dare to dream. Just dare to dream. So happy Romule, everyone. Happy Romule, and enjoy this week and know that you are blessed beyond belief and that you have incredible fortune and manifestation awaiting you in 2021. Namaste. Okay, that was a lot I just threw at you. Let's take a deep breath and let it out. Let's take another cleansing breath and let it out. Know that the revelations you've received today are allowing you to process at a higher, better, quicker way than you ever have before. And that spirit is constantly speaking to you. Hear with that inner ear, folks. Hear with that inner ear as you move through your week. Know that you will be blessed beyond belief. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It's now our time. If you've gotten any value from this service today, and I sure hope you have, if you feel like you'd like to revisit this message, you can always go to YouTube. It's usually posted, that Alan takes the message, the recording, and he posts it up on YouTube later in the afternoon, usually by 3-4 o'clock. So you can watch this again throughout the week or anytime later if you'd like, and really cement, or is that the right word? Really take this message in again, because this is a time of power for all of us. That's what the Norwegians do. They know that this is a time of power, and inner reflection is power. So take this and start planning an incredible year coming up. So if you have found value in any of this, I invite you, I'm going to share my screen again and go to the possibility of you sharing your wonderful tithes and gifts with us. Well, we still have bills to pay, and we know, even though we'd like to have the power company accept our prayers as payment, they kind of like cash. So this is your chance to give back to your spiritual community, knowing that every dollar you give is an opportunity for us to raise the consciousness. This is a place where people can come and know the truth about themselves, you included. And isn't it nice to know that in Charlotte, there is this place, and now worldwide, because people can join us on Zoom from any place on the globe that has an internet connection. And you are helping us do that by your tithes, your gifts, your offerings. And so I invite you, even if your offering today is just a smile and a prayer, whatever it is that you are giving, know that as you give, so do you receive. And the law of circulation is in effect here. And so let's take our offering in our hands. Well, let me tell you what you can do with that offering too. You can send it to us at Unity of Charlotte. There's the address on the screen. Or you can go to our unityofcharlotte.org website, and there's a safe and secure way for you to just click the donate button, and you can donate any amount you like, and it will effortlessly and easily, you don't have to write a check or anything, it will support us in the work that we're doing. So if you are going to be giving us a check today, I invite you to hold it in your hands. I like to place it on my heart. Or if you're doing the donation, however you are sharing with us today, I invite you to say this offering, prosperity blessing, with me. Let's say it together. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. We are so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you, and for all that you do for our community, all the volunteers. Even in a contracted way like this, we know that just you showing up is a powerful, powerful way for you to be a part of this community. And as always, we close our service with the prayer of protection, which was written decades and decades ago. And so many Unity churches around the world use this prayer. It's one of my favorite prayers of all. So let's say this together as we close. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week. I know that this will be a fantastic opportunity for you to share in Romule. Happy Romule. And know that you are a blessing to each and every one of us. You are a blessing to the world. And I hope that I get to see you next week